Question number 2. So this is life planning question number 2. Imagine you visit your doctor who tells you only have 5 to 10 years left to live. You won't ever feel sick, but you will have no notice of the moment of your death. What will you do in the time you have remaining? Will you change your life, and how will you do it? So, what will you do so in the end of your life you will feel that you've lived fully? You have 5 years, guaranteed, 10 years max. That's your time frame. Now, you might think that in our financial planning world, dwelling on these morbid subjects is not necessarily the best thing to do. But I found it's very illuminating because the one thing I can say is we will all surely die. And we have what time we have here to do whatever it is we think we're called to do while we're here, and we need to make the most of that. Now, if for people who have small kids, it's all about family. The answer to this question becomes all about family because they're not yet done raising their family. My wife and I are in our second year of empty nesters. We're on a whole other phase of life. You know, for the few of you who don't know what that's like, it's wonderful. Every life satisfaction survey shows that one thing correlates to being the least satisfied with your life: having teenage kids in your house. People who have teenage kids in their house complain more about health problems than 70 and 80-year-olds on average. So it has nothing to do with health. It has everything to do with having people who are becoming their own family and trying to live under yours. And that pulling away is a very natural part of all teenagers and parents. And, you know, in prior years, they would kick them out of the house at 14. I still think that might be a good idea. My 14-year-olds were ready to go tackle the world, and they needed to go try that. And it was very difficult to say, no, you need to do all this study to prepare, so at 25 you'll be ready to tackle the world. You know, they were ready to tackle the world at 14, and I think they needed to sort of, you know, go try that as much as possible. So if you have young kids, it's all about family and everything else. And there's 5 areas where, and what this does is now all of a sudden, 5 to 10 years, you don't need a financial plan and you don't need money, you need time. And how you use your time is critically important. So this tries to get at what are the things that you're postponing that if you were to die in 5 years, left undone, you would feel your life wasn't complete yet. You hadn't yet done what you needed to do. Because a lot of us, no matter what our age, we kind of think we'll live forever and we kind of plan on that, when in fact we know we won't. And so, you know, seize the day, carpe diem, now's the time, if not now, when? And if you're not going to do it, you know, you're going to miss it. So let me take you through the 5 areas that people answer this question primarily. So, and these are 5 things to think about in your life. So the first one is family. It's all about family relations and connections and things like that. I'm busy. There's tons of stuff I'm doing, but my dad had an opening for a cruise, to cruise with him for 10 days that I took in December. Because I thought to myself, you know, I don't know when that's going to come up, and if I can't take 10 days and go be with my dad, you know, I'll just tell you, my dad has always tried to seize the day, and he's been married now a year and a half, so he's a newlywed. So there's another thing you can, you know, life planning event that you can do. You can get remarried. And his wife was going to be off with her daughter. And so he was like, Dave, why don't you come? And he invited all 3 sons. And I could take the time off and get away in December, in the early part of December. And both my brothers are as busy as I am and couldn't. So they're both jealous and envious. And I had a great time. You know, we could have floated around in the middle of the ocean. It wouldn't have mattered. Because just spending that much time and asking your father all the kinds of questions that you'd never ask him when you were a teenager, but now that you're there, you know, it's like, what were we like growing up, and what did you think about all that, you know, stuff that we did, and how, you know, how did all that work, and all the questions that you don't get a chance to answer. You know, on cruises, the best part about a cruise is a 2.5-hour dinner, where you're just sitting there talking, and you know, every now and then they put something in front of you, and it's a little something you taste, and then you move aside, you know, and then you do that. So so that's fun. So family and family connections are important, and some people are the connectors of their family, and some people need to be connected. And so try to figure out who's the connector in your family and connect with them first, because if you connect with them, they'll connect with everyone else, and they'll start telling you about it. And there's always one person who keeps a family connected if a family is kept connected. reconnecting with your spouse. As I said, empty nesters for 2 years. My wife and I are loving it. We are having fun. We're trying to figure out what we want to do with the rest of our lives. When we were first newlyweds, we used to read these things, in the magazines, how good is your marriage? And it would say, on average, a married couple talks together for 47 minutes a week. And we'd look at that and we'd go, we spend every hour of every day together talking. And then we had kids. And then it was like, what we wouldn't give for 47 minutes every week where we could talk to each other. And now we're empty nesters again. And it's like, woohoo, the kids come back for Christmas and then they leave again. And that's, I understand grandparents. It's like the grandkids are here and then they're gone. And both of those are wonderful things to have happen. So maybe that's the connection that you end up doing. As I said, this is a picture that was taken with my dad on the cruise ship, and it was a ball and it was fun. So that's the number one thing that people usually suggest is family. For some people, family becomes extended family. And by extended family, I don't just mean people who are related to you, but it's some other group that you feel like that you're part of their family or they're part of your family. And so they want to give back to the organizations or the communities that really had an impact on their life, and they sort of start extending that. So some kind of charitable giving back to certain organizations. And so perhaps it's a school. I went to Stanford, and so all my fond memories about Stanford, they grow fonder the older you get. Because it's the nostalgia, we were young and we were having fun. So maybe there's some organization that you feel an affinity toward and that you end up wanting to support. And maybe your heart has grown large enough so it's humanity as a whole, and you start sort of figuring out how you can help make the world a better place. So that kind of expansion of your own feelings toward family and your own desires to sort of make the world a better place, and the places that made your life better, you're trying to help support them. I think those are good things, and a lot of people want to connect with that. Maybe they give their time, maybe they give their wisdom, maybe they give their money, but I think that's a good thing to encourage. And so one of the things that we try to do is we try to figure out with people where are the places where they can be growing as a person, and one of those is trying to figure out how you can be giving back in terms of volunteerism. There are 2 things that Charlottesville is number 1 in. The first is restaurants per person, although I heard recently we were beat in that. And the reason is because retired people and college people love to go out to eat. And that's what we have in town, pretty much, retired people and college people. The second thing that we're number 1 is in the number 1 of nonprofits per person. I don't know if you knew that, but there's over 1,000 nonprofits right here in the Charlottesville area. And it's huge. And the reason is because we're the kind of people that want to form nonprofits and do some kind of good in the world. So if you can't find one in those 1,000 that you support and whose work you like, you've got a blank Rubik's cube. I don't know what to say. You don't have anything you value, because there's a value for there's a financial or a nonprofit that needs your help and support for almost every aspect that you could possibly look at. So that's the second area that people look at, is some kind of giving back, volunteerism, communities that made a big difference in their lives.